Hello and welcome to the Brand Hunch podcast, where we explore ideas and hunches around how marketers are growing great brands. It's a look under the hood at how much is marketing science and how much has been built on a hunch. In today's episode, I'm joined by Tushar Menon, co-founder and CEO at MyMC, along with his head of marketing, Dee Wescombe. Tushar and his brother Nish launched MyMC in 2013, and it's gone from strength to strength ever since. I've been really fortunate to have been part of the journey since 2018 when Tushar and I met. We worked on the rebrand back then, and we've more recently worked together in 2023 and beyond. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
So firstly, Tushar, give us a bit of context, give us a bit of background. How did the MyMC brand start?
Sure. So the brand started in February 2013. Initially got the idea because I was doing meal prep myself for a very long time. I was really into my health and fitness at uni and when I was working full time as well. And surprisingly, back in 2012, 2013, there was no one that was doing high protein meals for people that went to the gym or played sport. And it was pretty surprising there was nothing around. There was only weight loss brands that were available at the time. So I remember asking a few people in my office what they thought of the idea, and the overwhelming feedback was very positive. And I gave my brother a call, and he also at the same time was looking to do his own thing. So the timing worked out really well. So that's how we got the idea to actually start the business. But that was the easy part, because we didn't know how to start the business, of course, because we haven't had any experience running a business before. So probably spent about 6 months researching and trying to understand exactly what we were trying to build. And after about 6 months of going back and forth, we're like, okay, we need to give this a crack. And that's how it started, in a little kitchen in Potts Point in 2013. When we first started, we did frozen meals. So it was very much focused at your hardcore gym junkie. And that worked really well for the first couple of years. And our form of marketing was sampling. So we would go out to gyms a couple of days a week, set up sampling tables, give out meals and put voucher codes to our website. And that's how we kicked it off. And that worked pretty well for the first, I would say, 5 years of the business. So we didn't invest into our brand or marketing at all. It was all through word of mouth. Considering that it was a very new proposition at the time, that was good enough. And we also didn't have the capital to really scale the business. So that organic growth was what we needed at the time to really understand how to run the business. And it was only in 2018 when, for the first time, my brother and I decided to take a step back and assess where we were. Around that time, we were generating, I would say, $15 to $20 million in revenue, which took us 5 years to get to. The business was profitable, it was doing well, but we wanted to obviously take it to the next level. And we decided to invest in some research just to understand who our customer is and not who we assumed they were. And that was really eye-opening, and that's what really changed the MyMC story, to be honest. We realized that our brand can extend to a broader customer base, not just your hardcore gym junkie. And I remember doing focus groups and seeing customers come in, and it was not what I was expecting. And 6 years later, we've had exponential growth because we finally got to understand who our customer is and tailor our brand and service accordingly. We moved from frozen to fresh. We launched into retail as well. And, that coupled with investing finally in marketing and brand has resulted in the great growth that we've had in the last 6 years. And now I can confidently say we're Australia's leading functional food brand. We have over 7,000 stockists in the country. We touch 500,000 households a year. So it's a good space to be in at the moment.
Yeah, awesome. Dee, over to you. When did you become involved in the brand, and what kind of foundations did you enter with, and what have you sort of been involved with to date?
So I actually started with MyMC about 2.5 years ago. I was actually pulled into the business to set up a whole new project, which was a business venture for us at the time, really leaning into that weight loss sector. And I think through that period of time, just very quickly started to wrap my head around how quick the business was growing, the pace of the business. And I think for me, in terms of the foundations that were set back then, I feel like at that particular point in time was kind of a real big pivot on where we'd come from previously with being more of that startup mentality to starting to, I guess, get more sophisticated with processes. And as part of that, starting to think about the process of our brand and how we start to build that. What does it actually mean for us long term? I think there was a lot of opportunities for us at different points to kind of stretch our brand in different spaces, hence the involvement of this weight loss program. And I think at that particular time, we did try to stretch the brand into a different segment, which was starting to get a little bit further away from, I think Tushar mentioned, our core audience at the time. So it was a very interesting space. We've got a lot of learnings from it. And I think today where we are is kind of going back to that original customer that helped Tushar find the brand in the first place.
And Tushar, how have you managed to scale the brand origin? Obviously you and Nish started it yourselves. You were hand delivering orders to customers. You're really involved in every aspect from day one. How have you managed to grow a brand now to a totally different scale, but still keep your same founder energy?
For us, the biggest focus as we're growing our brand was to double down on customer service and focus on our customer and make sure we never compromise on quality. Because at the end of the day, if your product and service isn't good, doesn't matter how much you invest into your brand, you aren't going to get that customer loyalty and repeat purchase. We wanted to make sure that even when we were scaling, our customers had no idea what was happening in the background. We might have been scrambling like crazy to make sure everything was perfect, but we never took our eyes off the prize in terms of the actual product. So we're dealing with food at the end of the day, and people have an emotional connection with food. So if you have one bad experience, you may never come back again. And that's actually built the strength of our brand, and the reason we have such loyal customers is because they can trust our brand and the quality that they get every time they interact with us.
And what about from your perspective, Dee? How have you sort of helped scale the brand, but also keep the sort of DNA of the founders?
Yeah, I think probably what was really exciting for me is I've had a bit of a change of role in the last 18 months. And as part of that, I remember sitting down with Tushar and just kind of unpacking like what's next for the brand. And one of the things that he did, and I think probably for me was a bit of a milestone in the career, was being a marketer. He gave me a blank piece of paper. It was kind of like, we need to change up the way that we are showing up as a brand, and really wanted to kind of pivot back into that, I guess, original customer. We classify them as fit people or fit individuals. And I think that's really unique. It was the ability to be able to go back and go, where did we start? Where were the roots? Part of that's actually Tushar's story as a founder and how the business was founded. And I think there's so many similarities to our fit individual audience. And I think him and how he lives every single day. So it's kind of always easy when you've got someone living and breathing it, someone so passionate about it. I think the energy is also really infectious. And I think where we've kind of landed with the direction of the brand today has really set us up for success long term. And I think that's also kudos to the team at Cello. You guys really nailed the brief. And I think one of the things that's exciting through this whole journey as well is that we've created a platform now that's allowing us to be able to stretch further into other product segments and really leaning into more of a lifestyle connection to that particular audience group.
How would you define yourself as a marketer? What special sauce do you bring to the brand?
I think for me as a marketer, I'd like to think I'm probably more of a creative marketer. I love being given challenging opportunities to do something different with the brand. And I think that's something that I've done a couple of times in my career to date, is working with brands that don't necessarily have that broad awareness and trying to tap into it in clever ways, activating on ground, trying to create that connection to the brand in an authentic way. And I think that's probably what's really unique and exciting about working at My Muscle Chef as well. I think there's a special piece of the brand we haven't quite unlocked yet. And I think that's essentially with some of the hard work that we put in. I think in terms of the way that I approach a brief as well, when it comes to marketing, is there's obviously the core of what you do is like, how do you create that magic and excitement? What's that next layer? And that for me is probably what I pride myself on.
Well, that's probably the magic too, right? The sort of unexpected and beyond the usual kind of responses to delivering projects. I've definitely seen that firsthand. You bring the magic sparkle in addition to the ask. Tushar, I want to ask you about the move from the black tray to the red tray, which I'm going to hazard a guess was a bit of a hunch from your perspective. Tell me a bit about that journey and how you got to the red tray.
Sure. So last year, the biggest challenge for our brand was the number of copycats out in the market, especially in the retail space. I had friends that would buy a competitor meal, go home and take a photo and say, I bought a Muscle Chef meal. I said, mate, that's not ours. They go and return it. And every retail store you went to was just a sea of sameness. Everything looked the same. When we first entered the retail space, our black tray with the vacuum seal packaging was a first. And it looked completely foreign. And then a couple of years later, everyone copied the black tray and the vacuum seal. So it was just time to change things up. And Now, we had started the journey to change our packaging, like the sleeves already. There was just something not sitting right with me. I felt like there was something more extreme we need to do to really be bold and distinctive with our brand. And I remember Dee talking about really owning the color red in the new creative as well. And I know something just clicked. I don't know exactly how it happened. And I just had this light bulb moment. I'm like, you know what, let's do a red tray. And I remember when I first told the team, the reaction wasn't what I was expecting, because seeing the meals in a red tray after being in a black tray for so long, it did take some adjusting. And to be honest, internally, it was a bit 50-50, but, credit to the team, they backed my decision, and we all gave it 100%. And in retrospectively, it's been the best decision we made. Even if there's no sleeve on the product, someone's eating it at a workplace, if you see the red tray, you know it's My Muscle Chef.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you saw an opportunity, I guess, the entrepreneurial spirit, or, having a hunch and knowing the brand so well that even with 50-50 split, you still persevered and knew it was the right thing to do. When reflecting on your own involvement with the brand since its inception, how much of it for you has been evidence-based and data-backed versus a hunch?
I would say that's 50-50 also. And it has been a big learning experience for me. I don't have a marketing background. So when we first launched the business, my understanding of a brand was having a logo to put on a pack to sell the meals and have one on the website. And that's as far as it went. Hence why we didn't invest a lot into our brand for the first few years. It was only, to be honest, after doing the research, meeting you guys, I really understood what the importance of having a strong brand is. Because after we did that initial rebrand from the Muscly Chef to the logo we have now, and we did that big out of home campaign, and the results we got out of that just blew my mind. And that was of the back of the research we did to understand our customer. But I think where the hunch comes in was I was never prepared to ditch the My Muscle Chef name. I know we went back and forth on that for a while, but there was so much brand equity built up in that, and I just felt like, we can make all the other changes, but we need to stick with My Muscle Chef. So it's finding the right balance. I think it's a bit of science and combined with your gut feel as well.
Yeah, definitely. And the distinctive assets, whether it's the name, the red tray, the things that are working for you, doubling down on that. You mentioned that you thought at the start of launching My Muscle Chef that brand was a logo and a couple of other components. What do you see brand as now?
For me now, the brand, it's our unique identity, right? It's how customers perceive us in the market, and that's how we can distinguish ourselves from our competitors. What I've learned over the last 10 years is really important to build a brand that customers can trust. It blows me away the loyalty that some of our customers have with our brand. They've been purchasing from us for 5+ years, and you can only get that brand loyalty if your brand has those strong foundations. So for me, in a crowded marketplace, especially in our category, building a brand that has a strong foundation in trust and quality is very important.
And so give me a bit of a sense of the scale of the business now, and how involved are you with the brand?
We have over 7,000 retail stockists across the country, and we deliver to about 500,000 Australian households every year. So quite a large scale. And we moved away from being a ready meals brand only to also catering for other meal and drink occasions during the day. So we have energy drinks, ready to drink protein shakes, protein balls, protein bars. So we really diversified our portfolio to be able to cater for all different occasions during the day for our customer. In terms of my involvement with the brand, love working with Dee. Her energy is awesome, and it's exactly what we needed in the business and our marketing team. And the involvement she's had over the last couple of years has made a huge impact on our brand. We were just talking about it earlier today, how different we look from 18 months ago to now. And having someone that shares that energy and creative passion is hard to find. So I really love working with the marketing team and taking our brand to the next level.
Dee, from your perspective, tell me a bit about working with ambitious leaders like Tushar. How do you manage everyone?
I think it's finding that balance, right? I think to Shar's point, we do share the same level of passion and energy and excitement for the brand. And I think that's what has probably helped us really push the boundaries on briefs. And I think when we're working with you, the one thing I really, really love is when we're all sitting in a room and going through presentations off the back of a brief, and it's like, how do we push it a bit more? And that's what I love about Tushar. I think someone who is so ambitious and so driven to really make their mark with their brand and connect with consumers in the right way. I think that's probably where that little bit extra that you get from somebody like Tushar, and it's very rare, I will say. There are a lot of stakeholders I've worked in the past, and when you're in conversations, and again, coming back to the commercial thinkers, you're always asked to pare things back a little bit to safe zone. And I think it really gets me out of bed and excited to come to work every single day.
And why do you think customers keep coming back to the brand?
I feel like when we look back at the brand and, kind of where we've taken this pivot now to really tap into our original customers is I think the authenticity of the brand. I think really understanding who they are and how we can support them and be that nutrition partner for them. There's a bit of art and science in the way that the products are made as well. We've got our own in-house accredited sports dietitian who spends a lot of time actually sitting down and really finding the right balance in the meals to help those people achieve their own personal goals. And alongside that, we've got our own in-house chef. And I think this is the art side of our products where he's having to balance all those macros with, does it still taste good at the end of the day? And, that's what people remember. They'll walk away remembering how delicious something is. And I think that's something really unique to us. And I think the excitement of having our own test kitchen now is also something that's really helped us being able to get things to market at speed. And when we're seeing things on social now and really starting to connect with consumers in that social space, how do we pick up on those trends and insights? And lots of research and focus groups that we've been doing as well as like getting some of that thinking straight into the test kitchen. I know Tushar, when I'm in one-on-ones with him, sometimes the chef comes in with a little red tray and says, hey, taste this. I'm like, what's this one? Oh, don't worry about it. It's new. It's coming. We're just testing at the moment. So that's something that's inherent in our culture and our business every week.
And when you think about your role in the marketing capacity, how much of your career and role at My Muscle Chef has been based on a hunch versus sort of the science of marketing?
I probably would say very similar. As a marketer, I do believe that 50% of me is coming from a hunch. And I think that's potentially where I come in from a creative sense and challenge briefs and push boundaries a little bit, trying to do something outside of the norm. And I think when we think about the science aspect of it, it's always coming back and grounding it back into insights and, really making sure that we are tapping into what is relevant to consumer. And I think that at the core is always important within the brief.
I know something that you guys are thinking more and more about is the application of brand internally, and you live obviously by the organizational values. How important do you think employer brand is, and focusing on what internal sort of stakeholders think of the brand, not just sort of external?
Yeah, I think in terms of internal branding, it's interesting because from my perspective, what defines great brands from good brands that actually really embody, I guess, the values of the brand internally. It's inherent in the culture. I think that's something that we talk about a lot at My Muscle Chef, and we've done an amazing job over the last, say, 6 to 7 months on really focused on that consumer piece when it comes to that brand and the messaging and how we appear and distinctive and bold and different. But I really love that we're able to kind of take that internally now. We already live that way. We come to work, we think differently. There's a really fast-paced, agile culture. Tushar puts it as hustle with discipline. There's a lot of hustle happening, and it's really exciting, even just something as small as getting graphics up on our walls. Tushar and I were actually talking about it the other day and how that's actually lifted the spirits internally and starting to bring that to life. The next phase for us is like how we start to inject that through our onboarding experience for both new employees coming into the business, but also looking at how we engage with our existing employees, and whether that's an offsite communication piece to get people pumped around the projects that we're working on, all the way through to the language and how we interact with each other when it comes to performance reviews. So it's really exciting, I think, when that's something that you can actually have inside the brand at every single touch point.
Yeah, incredible. I talk to so many marketers about the importance of brand being applied through all touch points. And I think it's so commonly thought about from a consumer perspective, but actually you've got these pool of potential brand advocates internally that we could be activating even, further and in a deeper, more authentic way. Tushar, what have you found in relation to the values? Have the values that you started with remained the same, or have they evolved over time?
I would say our values have in large stayed the same. There's a couple of tweaks we've had to make as the business has scaled. In the early days of My Muscle Chef, it was very much, hustle only and not a lot of discipline. And I guess that comes from Nish and I just being ambitious leaders, and we didn't have any commercial thinkers in the business, and we were trying all sorts of things. But over the last 3 to 4 years, I think we found the right way of working in the business where we still have that entrepreneurial spirit. We have very high ambitious goals and targets, but we also have the right level of discipline in the business to make sure we're very focused with what our goals and strategies are. I think that's what's been the key to our success, as opposed to what we used to do initially. It was sort of spray and pray, just we had all these projects and initiatives lined up every year, and we probably didn't do the best job at executing any of them. But we've learned how to prioritize now, and that's made a big difference. But one value that's stayed the same since day one is, walking in our customer's shoes every day. So no matter what we do, every decision we make revolves around our customer. And that's never going to change. A good example is how we develop our products. So we will only launch and develop products based on what our customers want to see. That obviously guarantees success of the launch, but also it allows our customers to feel like we listen to what they have to say and makes them really feel part of the process. So we'll send out surveys every quarter to see what our customers want to see on the menu, what the new products should look like, and that sort of determines what our NPD pipeline will be for the year. And we've been doing that for the last couple of years now, which is why the products we've launched recently, we get great uptake and feedback from our customers because it's stuff that they've been wanting to see on the menu, which is great. So having the luxury of e-commerce business is that we have that direct relationship with our customers, so we can make changes pretty quickly based on the feedback that they're giving us. So that's something that we're very lucky to have.
And how much is your new product development, products that you're thinking about into the future, is built on pure customer feedback versus providing customers with things they don't yet know they want?
It's a bit of both, of course. We test products that customers may not know they need yet through the survey, and new concepts that we want to validate. And we can't obviously just copy products out there in the market. So if we have any cool ideas that internally we think great, we'll almost validate that with our customers. And it's sort of finding the right balance. Sometimes the idea may be something that the market isn't ready for yet, so you got to follow your gut and just launch it anyway. So sometimes that does happen. So it's just finding the right balance.
I know from talking with you, Tushar, that you built your own fit-for-purpose factory. What considerations went into the build for the factory in relation to brand? What has your own factory allowed you to achieve?
I would say the factory has just allowed us to double down on quality. And it got to a point at our old facility where we were at such capacity, there was a risk of quality being jeopardized. So we built this facility to ensure our success over the next 5 to 10 years. And as we scale, customers can continue to experience the great quality product that they've been receiving over the last 10 years. So that was the main focus in building this facility. Of course, there's efficiency and trying to lower costs as well that you get with scale, but everything came down to ensuring that we produce the best ready meal we can. And the best way to put it is how we cook the food is how you would cook it at home. It's just at a much larger scale. And we've tried our best to make sure that there isn't a lot of automated machinery that's, churning out large quantities of food. We still have chefs that are hand making the product on a weekly basis. And that's the brand essence. Customers want to have a home cooked meal. That's what they've experienced the last 10 years. So we wanted to make sure that as we scale, we never lose that.
You mentioned right at the start that you were surprised by the research in the initial days, in the 5-year mark, that you were surprised by some of the feedback. Why was that? And I guess what's your relationship to research been over the last 10 years?
What I was surprised by was who I was expecting to walk into the focus groups, for example, was not who I thought our customer was. I was expecting to see these hardcore gym guys walk in, and also the ratio of male to female in our customer base to be heavily skewed towards males. And that's what really threw me off when I saw the research come back. And this was when our logo was a muscly chef with his arms folded, and it was still sort of 60-40 male to female. And customers that were coming through were just your everyday person that likes to stay fit and active. They might play sport or go for a run, cycle, whatever it may be, but it was not who I was expecting. So that was a big turning point for me as a founder and CEO, and it led us to really incorporate data into everything that we do in the business, not necessarily with marketing or NPD, but everything else too, even in terms of driving efficiencies and driving decisions in our manufacturing plant. It's all based on data. So for me personally, it was a big learning.
Who's the brand that you admire and why?
For me, since I'm active and fit, Nike is something that I've always admired since I was a kid. And the reason I say that is the brand has that aspirational tone that's always resonated with me. And every time I buy new shoes or a new shorts or a new t-shirt, I just feel like I can have a better workout. It's that emotional connection you get from wearing the Nike apparel. So I look forward to buying new Nike all the time because I just get that extra boost that I need. Like I had a delivery come in last week of a few trackies and I was looking forward to going home and putting them on and going for a walk, so it just makes you feel a certain way. And that's what I love about Nike. The other one's probably, since I'm a car enthusiast, is Ferrari. And, ever since when you're growing up, if you think of a sports car, it's red and it's got a prancing horse, so I think they've done a fantastic job of evoking that emotion amongst every young kid growing up. It's just something that not many other brands have done. So they're probably my two favorite brands.
Yeah, agree. Distinctive assets comes up a lot. Hey, I mean, you talked about the horse, the red. I think you've done a great job at My Muscle Chef, really doubling down on what makes you unique to stay ahead of the competition. And I think it's even more bold that when everyone else catches up, that you move ahead again and you move the goalposts. Some great brand work that you guys have done over the years. So huge credit to you. Over to you, Dee. What do you think makes a great brand, and who's a brand that you admire?
Yeah, I think what makes a great brand is very similar to what Tushar mentioned before around emotional connection. I think brands that do really well, I guess, remain quite authentic to their own values and DNA. In terms of a brand that really stands out for me is probably KFC. I think a lot of marketers would probably share the same view. It's at its core really different to the other competitor brands, being Hungry Jack's and McDonald's. And, whilst there was a movement very specifically around getting into cleaner, healthier meals, and you'd see the menu in McDonald's all of a sudden going into salads, I love that KFC were like, nah, we do really good deep fried chicken, Friday night footy in front of the TV, and you just want a cheat meal or just want to have something that's quick and easy for the family that everyone enjoys, just grab that big bucket of chicken. What I love as a marketer, though, about that particular brand is they've just been able to pop up in such unexpected places and create a different experience for people to connect with their brand. And, very specifically last year, I think it was, they popped up at the Australian Fashion Week on the catwalk. You would just never imagine a fast food chain walking down the catwalk with merch apparel. So, that's probably a real standout one for me.
Yeah, incredible. And I think that force fit too between new audiences and kind of tapping into different trends or ideas or things that are timely and relevant is brave and often cuts through, which talks to the type of work and marketer I think that you are and the way that you think about things differently. Have you thought about the role between sort of brand marketing and performance marketing? How do you weigh those up?
Yeah, so obviously, brand investment is quite significant, and it's also, a body of work that you undertake that actually is a long-term commitment for a brand. The results and what you see off the back of your brand work can sometimes take years to actually come to fruition. I think the importance of performance in that mix is how do you find a balance between bringing some of that brand storytelling into your performance assets and really making sure that almost at every touch point, really, that you're able to inject some level of that brand narrative in there.
Incredible. Last question to you, Tushar. What's ahead?
The goal over the next 5 years, we want to be a household name in Australia and be present in every fridge, freezer, pantry across the country. Now, like I said earlier, we've dominated ready meals, but we understand how strong our brand is, and we want to use that strong brand equity that we've built and extend across all the aisles in the supermarket. So if you're looking for a healthier, better for you option for any meal occasion during the day, we want a My Muscle Chef product readily available to be in your fridge or pantry. So we've doubled down on that, and that's what we're focusing on. And I'm pretty excited to where we can take this brand in the next couple of years.
I'm going to do one last quirky question. So one of the stories I remember from the early days of working with you back in 2018 was through the research, there was a guy that took a My Muscle Chef meal to a wedding because he just wanted to know the macros going into his body combined with certain workout would lead to X performance. What other stories have you come across over the last 10 plus years, Tushar, that just really bring home the importance of your brand in everyday lives?
Well, out of those focus groups, there was another story that's more extreme than the one you just said. There was a guy that had Chipotle chicken for lunch and dinner every day, supposedly for 3 years. That's all he ate. And I found that absolutely crazy to believe. But
wait, you mean My Muscle Chef meal?
Yeah.
Every day for 3 years?
He had it for lunch and dinner every day, Chipotle chicken for 3 years. That's all he ate. And he just loved it. So It just goes to show the loyalty we've built with some of our customers and the quality of the product to be able to eat that every day for such a long period of time.
I feel like that customer D should be your equivalent of KFC on the catwalk. I mean, he's our ultimate ambassador. Really great chat, guys. Thank you. I know there's prep and taking time to do this, and really appreciate your time and insights, and just great to be able to sort of unpack the power and importance of brand with you both and reflect on the last 10 years.
Thanks for having us on.
My main takeaway from today was just how much of a mutual respect Tushar and Dee have for each other in their respective roles. I think the fact that Tushar as a leader can let Dee sit down with a blank piece of paper to forward plan an exciting path for the brand, and just their mutual respect for each other in their roles. Tushar lives and breathes the brand. He is a walking, talking persona. And it's actually really useful when we're coming up with ideas and working with the brand. Would it fly with Tushar? Would he engage with it? Is a really good barometer for the brand.